Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today I'm going to be showing you guys a blow dry tutorial for the perfect layered haircut I did a couple weeks ago. You guys loved that video and I had so many of you asking how to do that blow dry to get all the bounce and bend in the layers. So I'm going to walk you through a very detailed step-by-step blow dry so you can achieve this on your own at home or in the salon on a client. With that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we are going to hop right in and start off with our product application. I'm going to be using the same exact products to style her hair that I did in the original haircut video. So everything is gonna be the same and you guys are gonna get to see exactly how I created that blow dry. So we're gonna come in first with Olaplex, their oil, and I'm just using this to give us a little heat protection as well as shine and a little frizz control as well, because Lord knows, everybody needs some frizz control. And I like to start that at the ends and I just work it in my hands and then I kind of start gliding through. So I'll just come in top and bottom, work that through, and we work our way up the hair. And I like to do it to the back section first and then I'll add a little bit more to come into the sides. So I did like 3 dabs for the back. I'm just gonna do 2 dabs for the front. And now that that is in, we're going to apply the IGK Beach Club. This is a nice, just really good thickening volume blow dry cream. It has good like style memory, so you're gonna get long lasting shape with it throughout the rest of the week. And if you need to like touch up your hair on day 2 or 3, it helps kind of pop those layers back into place. And then obviously the amount of product you need for your own hair is going to vary on your length and density. I always say it's better to start off with less product at first because you never want to use too much and then the hair just feels like dirty and greasy. So if you are unfamiliar with a product, always start off with less. It's better to have your hair blown out and feel like you needed more product than using too much and then your hair's like kind of gross feeling. So start off with a little, and work your way up to knowing how it reacts to your hair. So once we have all the product in the hair, I then just like to comb everything through. This spreads the product evenly through the hair. You can use a comb or a wet brush, whatever works for you. If you're gonna use the comb, make sure it has, really white teeth. But otherwise, you're gonna work that through the hair to get that product spread. And apologies if my voice tends to go in and out. I've been sick all week and I finally felt good enough today to film. So apologies if I don't sound my normal self or if I go like high pitched or whatnot. So once you have the products applied, you are just going to start your rough dry. So the rough dry is to remove the moisture out of the hair. This is to get a little control going to either like smooth out any curl or frizz that you have. It also is going to allow you to create a little bit of volume at the roots, but the main goal is to remove the moisture. So when we use our round brush, it's gonna make that process go a little bit faster. I like to take the hair in my hands and I'll glide down with the dryer on top of it. You don't ever want to go up against the hair shaft. You want to glide down with the way the hair lays naturally, so that way you are maintaining control in the hair. You don't want to create more frizz and chaos. And then you're going to get the hair to about, I'd say like 65–70% dry. If the hair is too dry, you're not going to be able to create the shape that you want as much. So I don't recommend drying to just like 95% dry. Your frizz is going to form. You're not gonna get the bounce and layers and the shape you wanna see with this type of cut. So these layers do require a little bit more work for your blowout, but doing it this way does give you a much more longer lasting blow dry than if you just like rough dry and go in and try to reshape with a flat iron. So another thing you can do too for blow drying along your hairline, because usually right in this area is where a lot of frizz tends to pop up. So you can use either your hands like I was doing and just glide that dryer on the edge there to get control, or you can come in and use your round brush too. You don't have to section it off, but just take it and you're gonna place it and push that hair back with it. And that way it starts smoothing this hair out here right at your hairline. So you get a little bit more control if you have a lot of frizz in this section. So that's another tip you guys can do for those of you with like the stubborn frizz. Just take your round brush and sort of glide through. So once you have the rough dry complete, we're gonna move into our sections, and I keep it pretty simple. I just do horseshoe sectioning. I don't do, for my blow dries, really like quadrants. I don't like separating the hair because I find when this starts like sort of drying, even though it's not a lot, it'll like make a little dent. So I just take traditional sections and I try to keep them no wider than the width of my brush. So this is a pretty big blowout brush. I believe this is 2.5 inches. It's from Olivia Garden. It's their Speed XL, so it's really wide. But you don't want your section to be any taller than the width of your brush because you're gonna lose control. So I just come in and I take this hair and we're just gonna clip it out of the way. I just use an old school butterfly clip and we'll have our first section. So all you're gonna do is even though this is like a really large barrel, I do like it because the hair, fits on it nice. I still want to maintain some control, so I'll still separate this into 2 halves here, just so I know I'm really keeping it all tight in. I won't have hair spilling out, but the hair is just going to come under the brush, and you're going to place your dryer on top of it, and you're just going to be gliding through and rolling at those ends, and you're going to come all the way up, and you're just essentially repeating those same steps. So this is going to allow you to get that shape going in the hair. And just take your time with this. You don't want to overthink it. Go slow, especially if you're new. But hair under the brush, that nozzle comes on top, and you're just going to glide and roll those ends. So I like to get it wrapped up once it's dry, and I'll hit it with my heat. You can either hit it with a cool shot if you want with your dryer now, or you can come out and just let out your brush. I will rotate those ends and let them fall, and you're just gonna have this nice curve that goes along through the hair to create some nice bend. And then you'll repeat these same steps on the other side of the hair. And again, you just want to glide. Place that brush under the hair, glide through, rotating, and you'll work your way up and just continue those steps. All right, so as you are moving up the head into the next section, I like to detangle the section before I try to blow dry it. So as you let the hair down, you can see it's a little, somewhat messy because it's just been clipped up. So if you come in here and you just try to rip through with your round brush and blow dryer, you're gonna get more tangles and snarls and tangles, whichever way. So you can either use your round brush and you would start, from the ends and work your way up. You can use your comb, your wet brush, whatever you're comfortable with. Just always start from the ends and work your way up. If you try to start at the top, you're just gonna get caught in the hair, and it's gonna be more tension that you don't need to, cause any more like breakage. It increases the chance for breakage. So just come in and detangle each section of hair before you blow dry it, and it'll help make the process of gliding your brush through the hair a lot easier. And then you're just gonna repeat those same steps. So again, we're placing the brush in the hair, and we're gonna just go out, and we're gonna roll those ends And you're gonna come all the way up and work drying that hair. And it's just a lot of rinse and repeat. And if you wanna create more shape, you can always change the direction that you blow the hair. So you can come at it from like a sideways angle. You don't have to always do the same exact direction. This is obviously the easiest. And it gives a great result, you know. It'll definitely give you an amazing outcome. But if you want to create maybe a little bit more bounce and bend in the hair, you can change the direction that you're drying it. And the other perk to that is it dries, you know, sort of all sides of the hair. You're working that heat in a little bit more evenly. However, that is a lot more work. So if you're doing this on your own, you know, just do it top down and you'll be good. So another thing I would say that is one of the most important things when you are drying the hair is you want to make sure that your section of hair is completely 100% dry. And I know that that can sound like obviously summer, like we know that the hair needs to be dry. But what I also mean by is that it can feel dry, but you also haven't fully manipulated it into the shape that you want. So if you get the hair to where it's finally dry, so like this is technically dry, I just feel like you still need to work out a little bit more once it's dry to really get the hair sort of to understand, okay, it wants to be curved. We're trying to show off some bend in these layers. We're really working the hair. So you don't want to like abuse it with heat, obviously, but just because it's 100% dry, the hair doesn't necessarily know it needs to be in that exact shape. So you still want to make sure that you're going through after it's dry for a little bit and continue to work your dryer and your brush through the hair. So you really get the hair to form into that bounce and bend to show off those layers. So it's not always just about getting the moisture out of the hair, but it's making sure that the hair knows that you are trying to create a specific shape and getting it to hold. And then again, I like to just twirl. You'll let that out and it falls so beautifully. And then one thing, try not to touch the hair as much as possible, you know, when you're moving, like the hair that's already dry. Obviously the hair on top is gonna hit it some, but you don't need to like run your hands through it all, you know, like a ton. Try to let it like really sit and fully cool into place if you're not gonna use the cool shot button. So I do use the same size brush for all of the hair. I might, when we get to the bangs, go down a size, but her hair's longer. Quick note, the larger the brush, the smoother your ends are gonna get as far as like how straight they are. The smaller the brush, you might get more bounce and bend in your layers. It's personal preference if you want to use more than one brush, but you can use one brush and get a great result as we're doing today. So when we come into the sides, you have the option to either roll everything towards the face if you want to really enhance those face framing layers, or you can keep it going back away. That's all personal preference. I actually, in the face frame is where I will opt to change my direction. So I'll roll forward for a little bit, then I'll roll backwards, just to give a little bit more shape, because that's where people see your face the most. But again, that's personal preference. But I do like to alternate directions of going back and forth just to create extra shape and work that hair a little bit more. So as you move further up into the hair on the top sections, the top is where you can opt to change. So like through the sides and the back, I've mostly been bringing the hair sort of out and down. If you want to create more volume, you're obviously going to pull that round brush up, which again is all personal preference on if you want a lot of volume. So where I've been just coming out and gliding that hair down, you would change the direction and go up with the hair. So for those of you who want some extra volume, you're gonna lift up, and those who want more smoothness, you'll continue to just go straight out and down, but I'm going to lift up to create a little bit more height here. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this cut is a square layer cut, and it's meant to really kind of show off a more thick and full type of layer. It's gonna show off a little bit more like defined, not choppy layers, but where you really see each layer. And if you haven't seen that tutorial, it'll be linked in the description below. I got a lot of comments of people wanting to see the blow dry, so this is how this video got made. But if you want to see how I got this haircut, that video will be linked below in the description and pinned comment. So through the rest of the hair until we get into the front bang area, you're going to continue to do those same steps. Again, pull the hair up if you want more volume, pull it straight out and down if you want more smoothness. And then you have the option of either rolling that hair in towards the face or away from it. That is personal preference. And then when we get into the bang area, I'll show you how I like to dry those if you need to get them wet again, if they've dried out and all the good stuff. So you'll just continue those same steps and then we'll get into the bangs. Okay, so once you get to the final top part, the bang face frame, some stylists and people like to blow dry this section first, just because, you know, when you get to it, it's a little dry already, but I like coming back to it and I'll just re-wet it down because I feel like blow dries can be a little bit of work. So you get like hot, sadly, even sometimes sweaty, that I feel like you need to reshape it again anyways. So I just always opt to spritz it down again. So obviously this hair is really, really dry now compared to where we started. So to get the max control out of creating the shape, I just like to keep a water bottle nearby. You can like wet your hands if you're in your bathroom or your comb, but I just lightly spritz the hair to get that nice and saturated again, especially at those ends. And we'll do that on the other side. And obviously this is a side part that we are doing today. You would blow dry to, you know, whichever part you wear your hair to. But yeah, so we're just spritzing these down again so we get control. And what I like to do, you could go down in brush size if you want. However, this is gonna wrap around the hair just fine. We're gonna be able to get some nice bend. So I place the brush in this whole top section here. I place it under, and I like to glide going diagonally across the face so we get a little bit of lift, and you're just gonna pull it towards you. So I like doing these in two separate sections rather just in one big one. I feel like you get a little bit more control and lift. So we're just gonna, again, the brush, it's gonna come under the hair, and we're gonna come over diagonally across the face, over directing. And you're sort of just blow drying like almost sideways. And then once that hair has gotten a little more dry, I'll do it where the hair is laying more down, like flat, where I'm kind of really going up and away from the face. And then I will roll. I let this sit. You could opt again to use the cool shot. And I'll let that lightly cool down in my brush. And we're gonna come back away from the face and let that fall. And it just creates, the hair's gonna get out of her face in a second, guys. I realize it looks like she can't see. I promise she can. But it creates nice bend in shape, and we're gonna just repeat that same exact step on the other side. Over and across. And it's okay if you grab a little bit of hair, you know, from the other sections. It's not gonna hurt anything. Lots of volume. Ugh, I love this haircut so much. So after the blow dry is done, I like to take a look at the hair. You might have some pieces that you might need to like fluff more. If you need to reshape anything, don't feel bad. Blow drying is a lot of work, and it is completely okay. If you have a couple sections where you're like, this just isn't bending right, and you wanna go back and reshape, you would just grab those pieces as needed. So I'm gonna get her set and styled with a hairspray, and then we'll show you guys her final outro of how we created this blow dry on our nice square layers. All right, guys, here is our final look of our blow dry tutorial. We have got so much bounce and bend, showing off all of those layers. Remember, keep your sections nice and neat. You don't need them any wider than the width or circumference of your brush. And again, make sure to detangle the hair before you place that brush in, so you have nice, even movement without like tangling the hair up again. And then lift up to create volume, straight out and down if you want more smoothness. And again, this was a square haircut that you can find out how to achieve in this video right here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.